All right. Welcome to CKLA Chats episode number 2. Uh, thank you for joining
Welcome.
us. Yeah, thank you for joining us this afternoon. Today, we're going to be talking about 5th grade, Unit 5, lessons 6 through 10.
All right, so whether you're a skills teacher or administrator, we hope that you leave this live stream with a deeper level of understanding about the lessons that gives you that confidence in implementation.
Mhm. Hey, so before we get started, if you're watching us live, go ahead and drop what campus you're joining us from today in the chat. And of course, if you're watching this later on replay, you can add the hashtag CKLA replay to your comment.
And if you don't know by now, and this is your first time joining us, my name is Ashley Giles. I am a district literacy coach in Aldine ISD. Um, District literacy coach specifically for grades 4 through 5. And joining me or with me is my partner, Miss Sarah Foster. And she is also a district literacy coach, grades 4 through 5 in Aldine ISD.
Team 3.
Team 3, look, can't forget that now.
All right, so for the next 40 minutes or so, we're going to be discussing lessons 6 through 10 in the Renaissance unit. Our goal is that through the process of unpacking the lessons today, everyone's going to leave with a deeper understanding of their purpose and how we can be successful. Okay, our disclaimer again is that we are not experts in this curriculum. This is all of our first year. We're just hoping that by talking this through and collaborating together, that we get even stronger with our implementation. So that being said, we're gonna go ahead and dive in. It helps if you have pre-read some of the lessons, but if you haven't, it's okay.
Yeah, it helps if you have pre-read a little bit, so you have a understanding of what we're talking about, because we're only given the gist really, and some extra supports to go along with the unit.
Mhm. All right, ready for lesson number 6?
All right, so for lesson 6, um, we will be, well, it says lesson 1.
Oh, I'm sorry, that's wrong, but everything else is right.
Okay, but that's lesson 6, right? So you're discovering the topic, the Renaissance. So the reader, you're reading about patrons, artists, and scholars. And they're going to be reading a chapter titled "The Italian Rebirth." Because remember, that's what the Renaissance is. It's this rebirth, and so in Italy. So the purpose is the students are reading this text in today's lesson to understand how the growth of trade during the Middle Ages affected the way people lived during the Renaissance, during this time period called the Renaissance period.
I lied, Ashley. That is wrong. That is from last. That is from last.
Oh, okay,
I'm so sorry. That
it's
is
all
right.
right.
I thought I had updated our slide, but I did not. Okay.
So
So,
in lesson 6, though, we're going to
yeah.
continue with inferencing.
Hmm.
And so we've been working on inferencing. Really, it's been really heavy in this unit so far. These first 5 lessons, now lesson 6. And so they're going to be talking about how Michelangelo, so they're going to be reading about Michelangelo
And
and
Raphael.
Raphael's work, how their art represents the spirit of the Renaissance. So basically looking at art and how that represents that era, that time period, using
Yeah.
evidence from the text. That's the focus. You always using this evidence from the text.
Yeah. So essentially, they're answering the same. The question, the big question, is the same as what they did with Leonardo da Vinci, except now they're doing it with Michelangelo and
With
Raphael.
other artists,
Yeah.
yes.
So sorry about the confusion on that
And I'm
slide.
just speaking away until I look at my notes.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Okay. So I'm sorry. I'm gonna go on mute because they're announcing.
Okay, so what is the teacher doing? So in this section, we focus on reading, is like the heavy focus, and then we have some grammar work, which for with prepositions. But in the reading section, you're going to review humanism, right? And they learned about humanism in lesson 5. And at the end, we do have an anchor chart that could be used about that you could use for humanism.
Here,
The
I'll go ahead
teacher's
and pull
going
it
to,
up now.
oh, okay.
Wait, what is it? Alert.
Uh-oh.
Not sharing it. Go back to screen share. Okay, there we go.
Okay, so basically they said to write this up on the board. I mean, but we want our environments to be, knowledge based. So I simply added some photos from our chapter, and then instead of it being on a board where I can erase it, I put some of these, um, what do we want to call them? Components of humanism
Yeah.
on the sticky notes. So, I mean, there are what, 7 of them? Instead of having it on the board, I just thought it'd be a great anchor because this is something that they keep referencing to all throughout the unit. So, we are going to share that with you guys in the comment section. So, use it if you love.
All right. That's
And,
great. Thank you
and
for
so,
sharing.
yeah, so the teacher is going to check for understanding. You're going to ask the students how Leonardo da Vinci's accomplishments are characteristics of the Renaissance, like things that these artists have done. How does that show you that this was happening? Uh, during this time period. If necessary, you could ask your students, to look at the photographs, right, back from lesson 4. So
Mm-hmm.
you're just kind of recapping because remember, humanism is from lesson 5. You're recapping.
Mm-hmm. Okay,
So are
so
they retaining their information, right? Are they retaining? You're seeing if they are.
mhm. Okay, and lesson 6 is one of, I think, 2 lessons I've noticed in this unit so far. We're on, um, during the reading component, you're having students split up into 2 groups. So you have one group that the teacher is working with that you're going to support in the reading, in the day's reading by using those guided reading supports. And then you have a second group, where your readers are a bit stronger, where they're going to be working in a small group with partners or independently to discuss the chapter and to complete activity page 6.1. Basically, you're dividing up your class based on their reading needs and how much support they need to do the day's reading.
And so, yeah, so the questions. So since we know this is pretty repetitive, reading the chapter, answering these questions, I did. And teachers, we should pay attention to the kind of questions that they are asking, our students to be able to answer. A lot of these questions are geared toward the rebirth, right, of this time period, for the Middle Ages. And so that's the love of art, especially with the Greeks and the Romans. So that's, if you notice at these photos, and it's a lot surrounding about their love of art, especially with those people. I hate to say it like that. With the Greeks and the Romans, right?
Yeah, and I was thinking, just I didn't come up with a solution yet, but just trying to think of ways to make those questions that they answer throughout the reading more engaging for students, especially to make sure that that group that you're not working with at the time like actually answers the questions. So maybe
Mhm.
doing some type of quiz or a Kahoot um, at the end of the reading components, just to make sure that they are reading.
Yeah, and what's so fun? I don't know. Have you ever done quizzes before?
Yes, I
Quizzes.
love quizzes.
Yeah.
That's my one of my favorite sites, and especially
Same.
because you can like after each question it gives you the results and you can see like right there.
Yep.
Okay,
Love
I
it. Love
yeah.
it.
Mhm. All right, so that's the reading.
Oh yeah. Oh, so the other component would be that the grammar, right? The prepositions.
Uh-huh.
Um, and then they have a lot of word work. Every chapter or every lesson has a word work, and so we'll talk about that. We've also created something else for that before we go into that next component. But so word work, because every lesson like this, for this lesson, the word is accurately. So I did create, what was this? I think it was a Nearpod.
I'm trying to
I don't know
pull
if I
it up.
put that on there. And so basically, if you are remembering that when they do word work, they ask you the same questions, right? For teachers to do. What does the word mean? They give you the definition, where it came. Then they say the word, what it means, an example, and a part of speech. So if you just, go over that with your kid, click the arrow right there, Sarah,
Right here?
go to the next screen.
Oh, you can't see.
Oh, no, I can see it, but after you talk about that with your students, I put a game in there too. So this link will also
No,
share, and
hit a little bit.
I don't know if it'll click over. Anyways, the game is Time to Climb, and basically, when you do the word work, you're asking them questions. Is this done accurately? or inaccurately. So you're teaching them that prefix in. And so basically it says, Jonathan did not measure the ingredients for the cake. And as a result, it did not turn out well. Does that mean accurate or inaccurate? If it didn't turn out well, that means he did it inaccurately. And so basically, you just pick which one. And so every slide, it's a question, and they have to pick accurate and inaccurate. And that's how it's supposed to be a game, that time to climb game. So
Cool.
I don't know how it would look live, but that's creative for you guys. Take it if you love it. That's my new saying. Take it if you love it.
That's great. I do love it.
Yeah. So after that, and that's every lesson. You do the word, and then we get into our grammar portion, which in grammar they're talking about prepositions and prepositional phrases.
Awesome. All right, I'm gonna leave this presentation down because apparently I didn't change the slides like I thought I did.
Oh no, that's no, that's okay.
Okay, so when after the teacher introduces prepositions and kind of explains what they do, I like to use the pencil, that realia, that pencil to
Mm-hmm.
show prepositions. The students are going to do activity page 6.2, um, which basically goes over prepositions. And if they don't finish in class, they're going to do it for homework. And you can do it as a teacher guided activity if you think they need more assistance.
Okay, so did we spelling
Mhm.
for this section? So the teacher introduces spelling words by writing them on the board or chart paper. For virtual, they have the whiteboard you can use that can be shared. Um,
Mhm.
if you have a Promethean board, there's a whiteboard that you can use. The students can see what you're writing. So just saying that's another
Cool.
option that teachers can use if you have a Promethean in your room. Um, First, they say the word aloud, then they sound out each syllable, then they name the letter, they name the letters aloud as the teacher writes it, connecting and continuing with the syllable by syllable until they have spelled the whole word. So, that's where that phonics is embedded. A little bit of the phonics is embedded
Mhm.
with your spelling words this time. So, after writing and pronouncing, they're going to use the chart and they're going to define each word and give examples in a sentence.
Yeah.
Teacher will, of course, model that first.
Yeah, so it's pretty much your same spelling routine that you've used across the different units. It's the same thing, new words,
Yeah. And
and
then we're going
they.
to introduce the prefix
Mhm.
X to the students. So you're going to create this X anchor chart or poster, which is available on our digital resources. You're going to have the students turn and talk, think about words such as exhale and exit, what they think that means. And so hopefully, we get them to understand that X means out.
Mhm.
And then you're going to chart those together on your chart. So here's your modeling right here, showing the students, as the teacher is completing it with them, not just giving them that chart to fill out, making sure that we're doing that with our students.
Yes, and as they're working, you're going to check in with each student and formally assess their ability to read multisyllabic words with the prefix X. So you're just going to come up to them and point to a word on their chart and make sure that they can read it. And if they struggle with this, then you're going to just make note of that and check in with them prior to lesson 9. We're going to be revisiting those prefixes.
Yeah. And the students are doing those activity pages along with you. The preposition page is activity 3.6. If they don't have time, they'll finish that for homework.
Hmm.
And of course, practice those spelling words. There is a fluency supplement that goes along with this lesson, with the unit, if you choose to provide that additional fluency practice. Don't forget about the extra supports Amplify has for us.
That's great.
All right. I think the timer's going to go off, so we did great on that.
All right.
Lesson 7.
So, let's put up my right banner. There we go. Lesson 7 is reading. I'm trying to read it. Reading informational text for supporting reasons and evidence. So in this lesson, kids are going to be reading The Bankers Who Loved Art, basically about the Medici family. I don't know how to
Yeah,
do it.
I said Medici.
Yeah,
Medici. Yeah.
heard of them. Don't know how to say that. They're going to be reading this text in today's lesson to understand what motivated Renaissance patrons to commission so much art. So you probably are going to want to go over a couple of words in that objective or that question for them to be able to answer it. Like what is the patron, and what does it mean to commission? You can't answer the question if you don't understand what it
What it's saying.
means.
Right. So yeah, so Sarah said, making sure these students understand that big question, definitely. Um, well, I mean, so same as last lesson, right? We're going to focus in on these main ideas. This time, last
Mhm.
lesson was inferencing, now it's main ideas. But we are going to read chapter 5. And of course, the student, they have questions to answer. You're reading chapter 5 for the gist.
Yeah.
And so the teacher reads it aloud, and students are answering the questions. And so, like you said before, thinking of some engaging ways on how to have these questions. It could be, a gallery walk after every, I don't know, that's a lot of movement around, considering our circumstance,
You
but
can do a virtual gallery walk.
could do a virtual
I've
gallery
seen
walk.
I've seen those. I'll share it if I find it. I
Okay,
know. Yeah, I've seen virtual gallery walks.
cool. That's
Hmm.
awesome. Or they go room to room or something, or what?
It's in. I think the one I seen was like in a. It was some way with Google Slides.
Nice.
But like you clicked a tab and it took you somewhere.
Nice. So,
Yeah, I will
yeah.
share it when I find it.
Or even that makes me think of like you could do a classroom. What is that? Those Bitmoji classrooms, and just have like question one, like set up the questions within the classroom as they're reading, instead of it just being on paper or whatever the case, or just aloud, because they're doing it aloud, right? After every page you read, you answer a question.
Yeah, they're
It
like
could be like,
reading 2 pages
yeah,
and doing the gist in their job.
right,
Yeah,
yeah. So different ideas. I mean, it could be done. Nothing too extreme to make it a little bit more engaging.
yeah. But I do like sorry.
So students are doing a lot of turning and talking. Um, of course, you read a page, have them turn and talk for
Hmm.
comprehension, before after you pose that question, before you just say, okay, you tell me the answer, we'll have them turn and talk about it, have them discuss. So lots of that within this
Hmm.
few lessons.
So reading for just first, and then you're gonna circle back, and then they're gonna read the text again for main ideas and details.
Yes.
So you're gonna review what main idea is. You have a graphic organizer you're going to be using, identifying main ideas and supporting details. The students are going to be recording their thinking about the main ideas of a chapter on this graphic organizer, and you are going to explicitly model doing this using the reading on pages 42 through 45. Okay, so 3 pages, you're explicitly modeling for them, thinking about the main idea of the text. And they have some bullets that you're going to be thinking aloud about while you're doing this, which will make a great anchor chart. Okay, like using the title,
Yes.
the heading, using the text features to think about the main idea, repeated words and phrases, okay, so just things like that to help the students when they're doing it on their own.
So one thing, not trying to tell people what to put in their classroom, but that should be, like you said, let that be an anchor. And that's knowledge-based anchor chart, right? Because you're putting information from the text that you are reading. So
Mhm.
making sure that's visible for your students.
Yep. So they're going to pick up where you left off on page 46 through 51, and they're going to do it, finish that graphic organizer on their own, thinking about the main idea. You're checking in with them as they work. Basically, you're always referring them back to that anchor chart. Okay, you're having a hard time coming up with the main idea. Have we tried looking at the text features, like what bold words do you see? What headings do you see? What's the title? Okay, so not you're not really thinking anything like off the fly, off the top of your head. Just
So, all right.
just referring them back to what you already done.
And then the teacher, you're after, once they complete that assignment, we're reading those pages and completing that chart, you're going to bring them back to discuss,
Hmm.
and the wrap up. So what strategies did the students use to help them figure out the main idea? um, if not, start off and you give them one of your strategies, right? Encourage
Hmm.
students, you need to have, how many details do we teach our kids? At least three to support, that main idea. So making sure the teacher informs students of that. And then so students are sharing, they're sharing the things that they wrote. So then you have the word work. I mean, I don't know if you want to add anything to that, Sarah. I always, they
No,
share. Right? They come
yeah,
together and they share. And then just like last lesson, you have another word.
Yeah.
Um, but it's the same routine. What does a word mean? Give me an example. So however you want to be creative and change it up,
Mm-hmm.
then you do that because it's just one word per day for your word work. And make sure you have it on your word wall.
Yep. And it's 5 minutes. So like make it quick. Gamify it, make it quick. Get it like
Right.
knock it out. And add it to your work wall, like you said. All
Yep.
right. So in writing, basically, you're explaining to students that they will choose one of their informational paragraphs that they composed in lesson 4 and 5, and they're going to present it to a small group. So basically, the students are going to be listening to one another and identifying the points that their classmate makes in their paragraph. And then they're going to explain how those points are supported by reasons and evidence. So really, what they're listening for is the main idea and the supporting details.
Making sure they're included. Yeah, true.
Mhm.
And then the teacher going to review those answers, whole group,
Mhm.
right? And as the students are discussing, so your whole group again.
Yeah.
Then it talks about practice presenting, but they're presenting what they wrote, right?
Present moves into there. So yeah, on I think this is activity page 7.3. Let me flip through
Oh,
and
we
make
talked about that already with the pencil.
7.3. Yeah, this is informational paragraph presentations.
Right. Um, and so, I mean, and that'll conclude. I mean, they practice speaking about what they wrote about, basically. And then the teacher wraps up, tells the students to refer to their notes when they think about their paragraphs, making sure that you have your main idea and your supporting evidence, and how it needs to be logically relating to the topic by refining the main idea. So when they need to look at those details and making sure that those details are matching what they said that main idea stated.
Hmm.
Um, and the students share their information in
Yeah.
the chart below.
Mhm.
And guess what? This is time for mid-unit assessment. Following this in chapter 7, in lesson 7.
Yeah. So I did. I checked the assessment calendar for 5th grade. Let me see where I put my sticky notes. I'm not sure. I don't think the mid-unit assessment was on there. I know they have the end of unit assessment,
Yep.
February 8th to 12th.
I think those are optional. If you just want to, I guess to me, see where your kids are, what they
Yeah.
information they're retaining. If
Yeah.
you have time, give it.
Yeah. Because I think in the unit it says like use one of your pausing point days maybe to
Yeah.
give the yeah. So optional. Yeah.
Oh, look. All right. You hear that timer?
Mm-hmm. There we go.
All right. She said Lego. Okay. Lesson 8.
All right. So in lesson 8, you are reading chapter 6, morals, modesty, and manners. And basically, students are reading this text to understand the Renaissance ideals of how a prince or a courtier should act. Okay, so again, making sure they understand those ideals, need to know what that is. And courtier are some, yeah, I would definitely point
I'm sorry, I had to look that up myself. Just saying, as a teacher, make sure you're knowledgeable.
out. Courtier.
Yeah.
Is it like a member of the court? Is that what it is?
I
Like a
mean, yeah, you can use. I mean, I just to make sure. I mean, if you use context clues, but that's exactly what it says of the legal system, something like that.
oh
Yeah, courts. Yeah.
oh, because when I was thinking court, I was thinking like the princess court, but you mean like the actual court, like
Well,
judges
there's
and
multiple meaning words, so may need to double check that, Sarah.
because yeah, when I think court, there, I'm thinking like the members of the they're not the members of the royal family, but
The
they're the ones who
royal
attend to like are close to the royal family.
courtiers. Let me
And
see.
now I don't know.
But that's my whole point is making sure that teachers are aware,
Yeah,
right? Making sure that we know.
yeah, because you're gonna have to tell your kids what it means. Now I need to read the I didn't read the text for this lesson. I need to do that. All right. What in reading?
Yeah.
Basically, you're explaining the purpose for reading. You're going to explain to students that, like in lesson 7, they're going to be thinking about the main ideas in this chapter, and they're going to explain how those ideas are supported by key details. Okay, so you just reviewing the vocabulary with them, introducing the chapter, the big question, and the kids are kind of following along as you go through the vocabulary words, and they're reading the big question for the class.
And so to go back to the courtiers, these are like the royal advisors to the king and the queen and things like that.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I
I
knew
was
that already. Now
adjacent. I knew they were with the royal family, but I thought it was yeah. I thought it was like the hand mate, the ladies in waiting like that.
yeah, it's like the companions or the advisors to like that the royal family.
Ah, good. I learned something new today.
Hey,
I have to make a note.
but that's just what's so great about this curriculum. Our kids will know this knowledge. You, as an
Mhm.
adult, the same things that we take for granted that we just
Yeah,
didn't care to know about. We'll learn. We'll learn so much from it.
I think you want to acknowledge that, like, to your kids, like, hey, I learned something new today too. Like,
Yes,
I went to
to your
college. Oh,
kids, you're
yeah,
saying
but I
that to
didn't
your
know.
students.
Yeah,
Yeah, to your students for sure.
how lucky are they that they
Okay.
figured it out?
So to start off, the teacher she introduces the info, or she previews, just reviews over the previous learning, and then you introduce the chapter that they're going to read for the day, and the vocabulary. Try to change that up, not the same way vocabulary.
Yeah,
Change it up for your kiddos to keep their interest. Um, you set the purpose. The teacher's going to set the purpose for their reading today. Talk about just like in lesson 7, make reference to lesson 7, how you're focusing on the main ideas in morals, modesty, and manners. Explain that the ideas are supported by key details. So just that support for the main idea. So you're just reiterating that for your kiddos that we're going to continue this work from yesterday.
hmm So from there, basically, again, just like every other day, you're gonna read the chapter for the gist, like just really quick, reviewing what it means to read for the gist. They should know it by now. Like we're on lesson. What lesson is this? 8. So we're 8 lessons in. They should know what it means to read for gist. Asking them what it means to identify the main idea of a text and how they would do it. And you're listening for them to be able to articulate these things, what gist is, what main idea is, how do we find the main idea. They should be able just to glance at their anchor chart that you put up and to know
Right.
how to do it. Um, you're going to be asking inferential and evaluative questions throughout the reading, just like you always do. And basically, you're pausing like every couple of pages and having them write the gist on a sheet, like jot the gist. And then usually they start jotting they turn and talk and discuss the main ideas.
Mm-hmm. And just making sure that teachers, circulating the room. Don't find yourself in one area. Making sure, students are on task and that they understand the task at hand.
Yeah, there's a lot of students reading silently.
Yeah.
There,
So you may need to, support those. Like, and I know another lesson, they said pull a certain group with you. You may need to continue doing that, even though this
yeah,
lesson doesn't specify that, but you know your kids best. So if you need
yeah,
to pull a group, then you do that and then monitor, every so often
yeah.
the
And let
others.
the ones who can read on their own read on their own. If somebody needs a part of it, yeah, like yeah, I think it's just like right. It depends on the needs of your kids. So you're gonna wrap up the chapter with a discussion. The kids are gonna do a think, pair, share about the main ideas of the chapter. Cold call students to share with the whole group. And you're gonna ask them to identify 2 main ideas and explain how they are supported by key details. And you're gonna be listening for them identifying one main idea, being that the Renaissance ideals were described in works of Renaissance literature, and that there were many ideals of behavior during the Renaissance.
Yeah, and so as you're circulating around and wrapping up, kids have already completed that activity page 8.3, and then if they don't complete that, then they are going to take that home for homework.
Mhm.
You have your word work section. Again, same process as last time, 1 word per day. My suggestion would be to make sure you have a word wall, some kind of system in place. You know what I just thought? A student could be in charge of the word work this time.
That's true.
Selected students. That just came to my mind.
I like that idea.
Yeah. Oh, and then so what's our word for today, Miss Foster?
Is that Machiavellian?
Oh, you know who I thought about? If anybody know about that Tupac, I mean that's just is
Machiavelli?
that where he got it, Machiavelli, but it does say
Yeah,
Machiavelli in the text. So I'm just saying we can make some connections here. Some kids may know about that.
yeah. 'Cause I think
So
Machiavelli was like a great prince, and I know he wrote something that a lot of
right.
people refer to. He wrote something. I haven't read it, but I've heard of Machiavelli.
Yeah, so just some little background knowledge I had, that helped me know.
Yeah, right? You made it. I
Made a
heard
connection,
Machiavelli.
I'd say. Yeah. So then, so the reading was pretty much the same. You're reading, kids are turning and talking. We're talking about main ideas and making sure they're supporting that with these details. And so, because our curriculum is integrated, reading and writing are best friends, we are going to move on to the writing section, and students are going to use everything that they've been learning about these artists and the Renaissance, right? And they are going to write a longer informational piece. We've been writing little
Mhm.
pieces, right, and doing little charts. So we're going to write something a little bit longer this time, um, about certain famous artists,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Um,
So they're gonna pick one. Like they have
right,
3 choices. They're gonna pick one that they're gonna do some research on to write about.
right. And so hopefully, and I know that's our timer, but so basically, hopefully we're going to get our kids to know that, man, they're writing a biography, right, about
Mhm.
this person. So that's the whole focus of this lesson. They're going to pick this person, research, and write about them. Um,
Yes.
and so we want them to know that, oh, this is biography we're doing, right? I mean, that's what I got from it, Sarah.
Mhm. Yeah, and you're gonna make sure that you model, um, the 'cause basically you're showing them how to research and take notes on the artist that they chose. You're gonna be modeling that using the text of Michelangelo and Raphael. I think you're taking notes on Raphael. You're showing them how to research an artist and how to fill out that, graphic organizer. So don't just let them loose, pick an artist and go research them, take some notes. Like, no, show them how to do it first.
And another important part of this lesson is showing them how to record their sources, like where they're finding this
Yes.
information, and documenting the page number, and making sure, like Sarah said, we're modeling this from a previous chapter, not from the one of their choices.
Yeah. And they do like say the student should be using sentence fragments and paraphrasing. So they're not quoting verbatim from the text,
Right.
showing them how to like, yeah, use sentence fragments, just copying what you need and putting it in your own words.
And so that paraphrasing goes back to a previous lesson too. So it's all tying together.
Yep, everything circles back. They're gonna use it eventually. So don't skip anything.
Yes. Don't skip.
It's
So
all important.
yes. So brings us to lesson 9.
Right.
Let me see.
Synthesizing text details to make inferences. Big word, synthesizing.
Wow.
Okay, so the good news is you're just rereading chapter 6 again, and the big question is the same. Like they're reading for the same reason as they did the day before. Um, so let's see. This time you're rereading to analyze words and phrases.
And reviewing main ideas again, because
Mhm.
now we're synthesizing. So in order to synthesize, you're gonna have to know main idea pretty good,
Yeah.
because you're gonna have to pick out the main ideas pretty good in order to synthesize and create something new.
Oh yeah, synthesizing is a higher
Oh yeah,
level skill,
we're high on the Bloom's ladder
right?
now.
But that's cool how we scaffold it up, like just from reading to the gist and now reading from main idea, and now we're going to be synthesizing. So,
Yeah, actually, like a ladder for sure. Like
mhm.
yeah. You know.
Let's see.
So as they're rereading this time, they're rereading, they're analyzing these words and phrases now. Making sure that the teacher, explaining when you see a phrase, what does this phrase mean? Machiavellian thought Pope Alexander was good in convincing people something was true. So you're using these sentences, exact quotes or phrases from the text, and then you have to ask the student in turn, what did they mean here? And that's a
Yeah.
lot, and I hate to say it, but they get that a lot on
On
STAR.
stars.
Just to
Yeah.
say it,
Yeah.
because they give you a phrase and okay, why did the author put this here? What is it? What did he mean? What did he intend? The intended
Mhm.
message, right? What is its meaning? So
Yep.
yeah.
Yeah. That's reading. You have a
And so
word. Oh, you saying something?
I was just saying, so as a teacher models how to do that first, and then finally we're going to release them, and students will have to be doing this on their own, like looking at
Mhm.
these phrases and figuring out what's the intended meaning.
Yep. Then you have a wrap up where they're going to provide the questions for you to discuss the chapter and wrap up. And your word work is witty. Same routine, same
Yep,
process.
yep,
Okay.
yep,
Then in grammar, it looks like you're back to prepositions, except now you're doing prepositional phrases.
yep. And so it says refer to a prepositional phrases poster. Good idea to have that up in your classroom. Not just to me, not just a digital copy that I show when
Yeah.
it's time for the lesson. This is a poster that I would put up at the beginning because I know it's going to be recursive. I'm going to come back to it.
Hmm.
So, just a suggestion. Students create prepositional phrases for each type of function on the poster. So the work the student's going to be doing is they're going to create a phrase or sentence to go along with that preposition on the poster.
Hmm. Okay. So they're working on activity page 9.2. You're going to make sure that you read the directions and review the examples for students. You're going to guide them through the first sentence on their page, making sure that they can choose the correct preposition and identify the proper function. And of course, if necessary, if they're having a hard time doing it, you're going to remind them of the questions that a preposition often answers: where, when, or with whom.
And so morphology for then we have more spelling words. Students practice writing their spelling words. And then we are teaching our students the prefix X, right? And so the activity the students are doing, they are going to, that's on activity page 9.3. And the teacher's going to read a sentence aloud. It's going to be missing a word. The student has to choose which word goes in the blank based off the clues, the contextual clues in the
Hmm.
sentence, which X word properly goes in that sentence.
Yeah, that's a really cool. I think that'll be easy to gamify too, like a quick Kahoot. We give them a sentence with the blank, and then they just pick which word goes in there.
Oh, yeah, virtual and face to face. That would be a good idea.
Hmm. And that's lesson 9.
Hey, look, that's awesome.
All right, we finished
So,
early with that one.
yeah, we got 1 minute and 56 seconds left.
Okay,
But well, because it's the same. I'm just saying,
everything is the same, pretty much.
but to me, the thing is just uh, keeping it engaging.
Yeah, and I think just knowing those where I do, where are you explicitly modeling? And I think it's occurring a lot in the writing.
The modeling, yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. What you expect them to do, you should also do it. Have that exemplar, and I
Hmm.
did write that in my notes. What's the exemplar? Where's your main idea? Where's your paragraph about your biography? Because it
Oh
says to
yeah.
do it with the other, chapter 4. So teachers make sure we have that.
Hmm.
Our exemplars. Okay, lesson 10.
Let's go. Right. So in lesson 10, reading and writing informational text, making inferences. Your central text is women in the Renaissance.
Yay!
And I know, right? That's good. And they're going to be reading this text to understand the opportunities the Renaissance movement afforded to women of the time. So
Okay, who do you
afforded
think of? What woman? Go.
in the Renaissance,
Yeah, the first one that comes to your mind,
that's not in a painting or in a painting. Like
or whoever, whatever. Who do you think of?
women in the Renaissance. I always think I like the Mona Lisa is like
Yeah,
Renaissance to me. Like,
me too. I was saying, I was
yeah,
wondering if it was another one. Yep, that's me too.
yeah. I think definitely emphasizing or clarifying what the word afforded means, and it's not like when you think afford, you think of what you can afford to buy. Like
Yeah.
I have enough money for this, but I don't. That's not what it means. This question they need to understand that.
Okay, time's up. No, I'm just
Oh, that was fast.
no, we have 8 minutes. 8 minutes.
Okay. Oh, I lost my mouse.
That's it. So in this chapter, so they're going to read this chapter for the gist.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to remind students, of course, what the gist is. What is the gist? Remember, we're reading this for the first time. So what is the gist for us? So we're going to read it for the gist. Making sure students are able to turn and talk. And remember, they're annotating as well too. What
Yep.
they're reading, have them, teach them to learn to take these notes. So as you talk about the gist, about these women in the Renaissance, reading for the gist, You're going to read some, and then students are going to read some of those pages silently to themselves once they have the understanding of annotating in the margins and all that good stuff.
Mhm. So after they read the gist, they're going to be rereading to make inferences. And they're going to be doing that in small groups. Okay, so again, this is where you're dividing your class up into that one group that needs to read with you with those guided reading supports, and then the second group that can pretty much do it in a group or with a partner, or on their own.
Yeah. And so that's the end of that reading lesson,
Mhm.
right? Yeah. Reading for the gist and rereading for making inferences. And so we'll move on to the writing. So
Yep.
remember last lesson, we were talking about they were reading, they had to pick an artist, an important person, and they're going to basically be crafting this biography. And so the teachers should remind students that in lesson 8, they gathered all this evidence about their person and about informational pieces like main ideas. So we've been working on all this work we've been doing is going to
Yeah.
help us with writing this biography. And remember, so the teacher is going to show them how to gather good notes on their person. So you're going
From
to refer to
multiple sources.
right multiple sources. So that could be a little anchor chart that you gave them on the side, just saying something to supplement
Hmm.
their learning for what they're doing that's not provided. Um, so teacher's going to model her sources about Raphael, that artist. So our exemplar, our model as teachers is going to be from our character Raphael.
Hmm.
Uh,
Um,
and so that'll be the teacher's second source, right? So you have
yeah.
to we're showing them this is our second source now. We're having more information from the second source.
Hmm. And the cool thing is, you're providing their second source for them. They don't have to go out and look for it. They don't have to go to the library and look for another book or online. You're going to give them a copy of like an article or a document about the artist that they've chosen. So just keeping in mind ahead of time, how many kids do I have who are doing each artist? So you know how many copies to make of each one. So you can
Right.
provide them their article and they can start taking notes using their second source.
So their second source, yeah.
Yep.
And then when they're taking those notes, making sure that they're paraphrasing and
Yes.
making sure that you modeled that before you gave them their source, in your exemplar.
Hmm. And I like in their check for understanding when you're going around kind of talking to kids, it says ask students if they are basing their decisions to add information on whether it is confirming, completing, or
Yes.
contradicting. So does it match what I saw in my first source? Does it add to it, or is it like saying something totally different? So kind of
Yes.
having them like evaluate the information that they're getting, not just copying it just to have some more information, but actually thinking, is this what I need from this
Yeah.
source? All right. They
And
wrap
then
up.
we have to wrap up,
Yeah,
right?
they wrap up. Um, and you give them some feedback on their second source, corrective or
Yeah.
complimentary feedback.
And then it says students will share a note that you've added, right? Or a note they added. No, the
Mhm.
students will share a note they added, and that's what you're giving the feedback on. So
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, and whenever the students are writing, they have to. Oh, you already said that. Why that they chose that piece of information to put in there, right? Why is
Yeah.
it? Okay. All right. Well, that's the Renaissance chapter 6 through 11 or 10.
Yep. 6 through 10. We're almost done with this unit. Like, I think there's 13 lessons total.
Oh
So we're
wow.
like,
Yeah. Awesome. They're thick and hearty, but it's not a lot of lessons. But they're look thick and hearty lessons they are.
yes, what was that? Like, oh, all this paper.
Yes. So, guys, thanks for joining us. And like we said earlier, we want you to feel confident implementing these lessons. So, if you have any questions or concerns, if there's something that we did not address, something you would like to see, some additions to our CKLA chats, please email or tweet us at hashtag CKLA chats or visit us on our website, Go Team 3, for additional planning and resources. And Sarah, I'll give it to you for our closing.
All right, so we will be back after the break with CKLA Chats episode 3, where we're going to be wrapping up. No, we already wrapped up Unit 4 and fourth grade, so we'll be back with a new unit in fourth grade, and we'll be wrapping up Unit 5 in fifth grade. So until then, happy holidays. Take care of yourself over the break. Be blessed, be safe, and we'll see you back in January.
Bye. Thanks for viewing.